Welcome back to the We Are More Than Moms podcast. Today, we're going to do a few topics, a few things that have been sliding in our DMs or top of mind. We want to focus on the preschool transition, which is happening soon. We also have gotten a lot of questions. I think this has probably come from the fact that we are about to enter this transition about baby number 3, if that's on our minds, or if we want to stay as a family of 2. I think both of us have been thinking about that as a topic. And also, Annabel will explain about her recent new adventure with her toddler climbing out of the crib.
So let's maybe start on the preschool topic.
Yeah, preschool's coming up in a couple weeks. And I'm sure it is a big deal in many cities. I know New York and LA, but people put such an emphasis here on preschools as if it's, like the sorority you got into in college as I'm scrolling through Bama Rush on TikTok. And we have a whole episode dedicated about the LA preschool scene. But we really want to focus more about how we've been feeling about this transition. There's a lot of things that come up, a lot of worries, a lot of fears, a lot of emotions for both us and the kids. So let's get into it.
Let's take it away. The last episode was much more on preschool as a construct. And now we're going to talk about how we're both feeling as moms of 2 and something year olds. And also, I think what's interesting is that Dale and I, while we are best friends and do everything together, we have a very different feeling towards preschool. So I'll start for myself. I'm not going to lie, I'm quite nervous. My daughter is much more introverted. She's shy. She takes a little time to warm up. She is really into separation anxiety right now. So I need to be there constantly. If I'm going to the bathroom, she literally follows me. So I know it's going to be very healthy for her to have that space and to be under the amazing wing of these nice teachers and the campus I feel so good about. But I'm not going to lie, I do feel not only nervous for myself, because I'll admit that part of it is the nerves of me sending my child to preschool, but it's also, I feel like I'm nervous how she's going to find it. And hopefully she just thrives and none of this is an issue. But I do feel my sense of, I want to protect her. And I feel bad just now, putting her into an environment and leaving, given I've never really done that before. I've never just dropped her off unless she's with family and left. So anyways, that's how I'm feeling. And I think Dale's completely different. So let's hear it.
Well, I just want to say, I think we forget how young our kids are. So I think sometimes we have these expectations oh, my child should be ready for preschool and all these, the socialization. And it's just getting started. I mean, preschool is not even a requirement. Kindergarten, of course, but a lot of people don't send their kids to preschool. So I think we have to use that as a reframe. It's okay that our kids aren't ready. It's okay if I'm not ready. It is very young to be at school. And I know there is even younger programs and there's of course daycare, but when we zoom out, and I think that's what makes, people who are in early education and preschool teachers such incredible people is the fact that they can handle this stage, because these kids don't even know anything yet.
Mm-hmm.
And we have these expectations oh, this transition should be easy. How's it going to go? And it's all these worries. And again, I think it's very early. So just having that perspective. But I think for me, what I'm most excited about is having Leo in a program that I feel first is out of the house. I'm this needs to happen already.
For me, I'm nervous to get Jem out of the house, and Dale's get Leo out of the house. That's the true perspective. And I think it's good to hear it, because I think in whoever's listening, I think you'll find yourself in one of our perspectives and it's not the same. So hopefully you can relate to one of us.
Yeah, I think that Leo is he's definitely an extrovert. So he gains energy, and he actually, in a weird way, I feel it's sensory input when he's around crowds. I remember we went up for Halloween and we were in Santa Monica, in the craziest part of Santa Monica. And he was just in heaven because it was all the sensory input, and it calms his nervous system when he's got a lot of hugs and people and things. And that's where he thrives. And I notice his energy shifts. Whereas at home, when he's kind of just with us, the beast is unleashed. And I'm oh my God, he's crazier at home. And I feel he's much better in a structured environment because he likes to observe and take it in. And I think that's why I feel he's very ready in terms of, being in an environment. But I But it doesn't mean that I'm not worried about the transition. Do I think it's going to be all fun and games and be like, okay, bye, Leo? Like, I'm sure he's going to freak out. I know it's going to, mentally preparing for the fact that even though I know this is good for him, that it's going to be a couple of weeks for him to get used to. And I think like there's so many days when he's asking, even if I take him to soccer, oh, is Dada and Luke going to come? Like, he wants us to be all together as a family. And one thing I really appreciate about the school that we're sending our kids to is that the teacher comes to the house
Yeah.
the week before school starts. And then the first day, we go to the school with the kids. And then the second day, drop off. So I love this like transition of we're getting used to the people who are going to be there and in an environment where that's comfortable for him first.
Yes, I love that too. So just to backtrack, Dale and I, if you didn't listen to the first one on preschool, Dale and I are sending our kids to a different campus of the same school. And the reason for that is that our children are just different, as we've talked about. Gemma's an introvert, much more reserved, and Leo is much more extrovert and outgoing. And ideally, yes, it would have been amazing. They love each other. They're best friends to have them in the same school. But we chose that based on understanding our kids and like letting them guide us. So just to say that. And I think like it is going to be a completely new experience. And no matter like who your kid is, like there's going to be an adjustment there too. But even we were at soccer class today and like Leo, like right away, like, running to the soccer ball and Gemma's like clinging to my leg. So I think it just shows different kids. And I think just like leaning into your kids' needs in different ways versus getting into the whole FOMO, like I have to do this because other kids are doing it. I feel like I've had to learn the hard way because I feel like I am extroverted and my daughter is not. So I think it's hard for me to just like take a step back and be like, I'm not parenting myself. I am parenting my daughter and leaning into her needs and parenting from that place. And also I actually looked into her human design and like parenting her from that place as well. And the other thing I wanted to bring up is that I think for now it's been so Gemma's 2 years and 3 months old and Leo's 3 months older than her. And up until now, we've been able to keep them very sheltered, right? Like we have control. We have all the control of their environment and everything. So they've really only seen us and our controlled environment at home. And now is the first time that they're going to be going into a new environment where I'm not dictating how her everyday life is, what she's learning, what kids are saying to her, what the teachers are saying. Like I can have like a high level idea because I chose a school and I know that like this is the right fit for her, but I won't be able to control everything. And I think that's a process for me to let go. And it's on me to do that. That is nothing to do with her. So yes, she's having her own transition, but it's also a transition for me of like letting go of control again, which there's so many stages in motherhood where you have to like let go of control and having her need me like a little bit less till like she can fly on her own, because ultimately we want our kids to be able to fly on their own, but it's hard for us to like start letting go bit by bit, especially when it comes to this like first stage of preschool.
Yeah, it's like the first step that we're like kind of releasing some control, the 3 hours at school. But also, one thing that a lot of people ask, because as we're talking about transitions and being ready, is the potty training aspect and if school requires it. And obviously, this is very school dependent, but I would say 95% of the schools that I know of and see, unless they're like they start at 3, do not require your kids to be potty trained. A lot of them say it would be inappropriate to do that, especially for, most boys I know aren't getting potty trained till 3. In this case, want to show that Leo is not going into school potty trained. We have not done potty training, and Gemma is potty trained. So a lot of people say that the school really helps the kids with potty training. So I'm kind of like, okay, great. That like lessens my load. But I just wanted to bring that up because I think a lot of people worry about that transition. And again, I'm not going in putting the pressure on him to be potty trained or anything like that. It was time for Gemma. She was ready for it a few months back. So, or more than a few months. It's been some time.
It's been like
potty
5
party.
months.
Yeah, it's been 5 months. So
Yeah.
that's also something.
It just shows that like everyone's on their own timeline.
Yes,
like
exactly.
Leo is definitely more advanced in like the social side of things, and Gemma may have been potty trained earlier because she was ready. But again, it's just like leaning into what your kid needs and parenting based on their own needs versus other people. And I know we really as moms sometimes get down a spiral of comparison, and it's so easy to compare, I think, especially as first-time moms, milestone comparison and all of this. But in the end of the day, every kid is truly unique and every kid will be potty trained eventually. Every kid will be walking, every kid will be crawling, right? So it's just like putting things in perspective again and like taking a step back.
Yeah, like I doubt Leo's college roommate is going to teach him how to get potty trained.
Yeah,
Like
no,
I think it'll be okay.
I think Gemma's actually going to teach him. I think
I
that's
think
it.
Gemma will too. He's very interested
Yeah.
when he sees her. So on that note, I think one thing, especially as our kids are really entering this next phase and they're no longer going to be at home, there's a lot of questions around where a lot of people, a lot of our community has wondered, like, how do you know if you want to go for baby number 3, or maybe that's baby number 2 for you, or baby number 4 or 5, whatever, versus that your family is quote unquote complete? Like, how do you know you're done? And I don't know if I phrased that at the beginning because it could have sounded like a pregnancy announcement, but don't worry, you guys. But I think it's more just the idea of, when do we feel ready to make that decision and how do we know? Because it's hard being in the gray. Like, it's hard to be in this like in between, like, I don't know versus like, oh, I have a definitive answer. And I keep finding myself trying to be like, oh, I'm definitively deciding I'm going to have 2 or 3. Like, I feel like I need this answer, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's about the in between. I just posted that reel about it, right? And it's like, you're not postpartum anymore. You're not pregnant anymore. Like, now what? You're in this like in between. Do I have another kid? Do I work hard to get my body back? And Dale's like, do I need a boob job? Like, do I need this? Like, right? Like, you're kind of in this in between, and it's very hard to operate into an in between. So you are looking for a definitive answer. It's like yes or no, but sometimes it's just not that clear.
Everyone I've spoken to that has had a third kid, like, it seems like some people know right away, but a lot of people are like, give yourself a couple years, because and I'm sure a lot of you are in the thick of it. Like, we are just the 2 under 2, or maybe you have one and it's just so fresh, this chaos. And thinking of bringing on another kid seems very overwhelming, like on so many levels. And I think we have this pressure to kind of, again, like figure it all out. But I think it's very important to get comfortable with not being sure. And I'm someone that, like, I'm a very decisive person. Like, when I decide something, I'm like, okay, this is how we're going to do it. This is how it's going to go. I don't like to ruminate on the decision. And a part of me is like, okay, I want to get rid of the baby stuff. Like, I just want to clear out the space, or like, I just want to know if, I just want to have an answer, but I really don't. I think I am leaning towards staying as a family of 4. There's pros and cons. We should talk about the pros and cons that we're thinking of. Again, not as someone who's had a third kid. So this is just our pros and cons that we're thinking of. So a few things that come to mind is, I feel like a part of me wants to wrap this phase up because of the overwhelm, thinking like, okay, I can just like relax if I don't have a third. Like, things will be easier in life. Like, traveling as a family of 4, like 2 seems manageable. We got through the hardest part. Like, my husband and I can finally like focus on us a little more, like on our careers, on us as a family. I have more attention I can devote to both my kids. There's not enough hours in the day. Like, all those things come to mind about having another kid. And then there's, of course, the financial aspect. And like, do I want to give my kids the best I possibly can? Or do I want to even divide it even more amongst a third kid? It's a lot of like, I hate to base it on like a technical decision like that, but it is true in a city like LA.
No, I think you are doing your kids a disservice if you're not thinking about that.
Yeah.
I think you need to think about not only, yes, love expansion. I think it's beautiful to have 3 kids, and part of me does want that. But you also have to think about your capacity. And it's not just your physical capacity of like dealing with 3 kids. It's your emotional capacity, your mental health, your financial capacity. There's just so many other things that go into it. So I think you really do need to figure all that stuff out and make sure you're on the same page with your partner if you do decide to have it. I think part of me is also hearing you say about like, oh, another one, like the chaos, and thinking where I'm at now, which is really in the chaos. Like, I just passed the 2 under 2 mark, and the kid, Gemma's in the sleep regression of separation anxiety. She's jumped out of her crib. Griffin is not sleeping anymore. He's pooing in the early mornings and waking up. And I am in a season of overwhelm. And still in this phase, I'm like, I think I could have another kid. But then I'm like, on the flip side, I'm like, oh, it would be so nice to pass this phase. It'd be so nice to like not do the whole breastfeeding again and the bottles. And
Pregnancy, it's not
yeah,
easy.
it's not easy. And pregnant with a toddler was hard. What's pregnant with 2 toddlers? Like, that's probably going to be really hard. But then again, like, I'm like, what a beautiful gift it is to give my kids another sibling, like a person who will be there for them, constantly, and another love for our whole family, and just like thinking of bringing up another amazing human, and the love that can expand. Like, I never thought my heart could expand this much of having a second kid, and it did. So like, what can it expand to for 3? But you definitely have to weigh like a lot of the like behind the scene things that no one sees, that only you and your partner can really figure out before you make that decision. So I'm also like in a maybe stage, but I think it would have to wait until Griffin, my baby, goes to school.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people say who have 3 is like, wait till the 2 are in school because we're in a very unique phase. I mean, a lot of people, and sorry if this is like invalidating to people who have 3, but people who do have 3, some people have said the hardest phase was that 2 under 2 both at home phase versus when they're both in school and you have a third. Everyone's different, but I think it's hard to think about it from our perspective because all we know right now is chaos and we're just so in it. So when people ask me, I just say that like the door is paused for now. I think we're good, but I think there's this like pressure of like feeling like 3 is a complete. I think because I'm one of 3 and my husband's one of 4. And I think there's this pressure of like, oh, 3 is the complete. Like, am I really missing?
But what does complete even mean?
I know, like
I'm
I feel complete with the 2 of them, like 100%. Like I feel like I envision my life and I see like, wow, like the 4 of us, that's so special. But there's a part of me that's like, there's this like missing person.
I think that's because you came from 3. Because for me, I feel like 4 has always been my number because I came from 2. So it was me, my sister, my mom, and my dad. We were always 4. So whenever I think of family in my head, I think of a family of 4 because that's just how I was. So, and my husband's also one of 2. So we're both one of 2. And so 4 as a family was always our thing. And so if we do decide to have a 3, it's going to be the first for our families. And that would be from our own personal decision. But then I'm like, first of all, what if you have twins on your third?
What's happened to my mother-in-law?
I know.
My husband is one of 4. When they went for number 3, they had twins.
So that's one thing. I'd be like, but what if it's twins? Because I'm not prepared for 4. And then my other thing is like, how do you travel? Like, how expensive is this going to get?
I know that I think about the travel, but then I'm like, okay, maybe that's why my parents, like we always went to these like all-inclusive resorts or like places where.
Yeah, but how about the flights?
Yeah, the flights too. It's like, I understand now why they made these choices that they did. And like, I'm already thinking of like places to go, but I was like, I kind of want to be the family that like travels and experiences the world like outside of those places. And it's like, but with 3, it just gets really hard. And then there's, of course, like the gender piece that we have a whole episode on that. But the gender piece of, when people say, well, are you going to go for a girl, or people who are looking to go for the opposite gender? And I'll say, like, that is a part that is like, unless you use certain treatments, it's just, I try not to go there because I think that I have to.
Okay, can I ask? I want to say the story while you say this. So yesterday, someone asked Dale.
Oh, yeah.
Because she's like, I have 2 boys. And someone was like, so you're going to try for a third? And Dale's like, yeah, maybe I want another boy. I actually really want another boy. And it's like the look of expression on their face is like, what?
Yeah, I know. I got that tip from someone when I shared my story on Instagram. I feel like people will say things to me like, oh, no, you're totally going to have a 3. Like, I see you with a girl. The psychic told me I was going to have a girl and have a third. But I also just think like that part of me really did dwindle. Once my children were born, I didn't have that gender feeling at all. It's always before the baby is born and you find out that, in my experience, like I was like, oh, I mourned having a daughter. But then once my baby came, there was no mourning of having this. I was just like, this is the greatest blessing ever. And thank God I got what I got. Like, you know what I mean? So that's why I really think you have the kids you're meant to have. And I think one thing that I keep seeing circling around on like Instagram is saying, think about like Thanksgiving dinner table, like 20, 30 years from now, which I think is a good perspective, but I also think you have a right to think about your life now, because you have the right to enjoy your life. Like, there is nothing wrong with being like, I want to also enjoy. Like, I have friends that are one and done and that are like, and that's a nice life for them. Like, it's okay if it's because you want a little bit of you think you want an easier life. Like, don't feel like it's selfish.
I just don't know if it's like that much easier though, to be honest. Because I think once you're a parent, yes, you have to balance more kids, but I really find like the 0 to 1 have been so much harder and more shocking to me. Adding another one in, like, yeah, it's another one in, but I'm not tying to perfection anymore. And it's just like, it's kind of like, there's another one, another person
That's
in
what
there.
people say too.
Right. So then is 2 to 3, it's
spaghetti.
just, this another one there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think like only time will tell, but I think making that decision based on like your unique family situation after like careful thought is probably best versus being like, oh, she's having another one. Like I need to have another one.
And I do feel like from people I talk to, it's usually like one spout, like one partner is like, my husband wants another, or like, I don't want to carry the baby. So I think that there is sometimes this like disagreement, but like, listen, ladies, come on. The women, we really get the final say here. We're the ones carrying the baby.
She's going to know exactly who I'm talking about. But one of the girls in our mom too, she's like, I'd have a third. My husband wants a third, but I'm going to get a surrogate. I need to get a surrogate. And the husband was
totally fine.
It's just like, and another thing, by the way, on the gender thing, we were at a baby shower a couple of days ago, Dale and I, and one of the girls for her first child, she's pregnant with her second. And we asked her, is she finding out the gender? And she said, no, she's going to find out the gender when she delivers. And I was like, oh, did you do that with your first child? And she was like, no, like I wouldn't have been able to do that because I wanted a girl so badly. And if I delivered a boy in that moment, I would have been grieving. And I wanted to know beforehand so that if it was a boy, I could grieve that part of me, and which is okay, like beforehand. And she had a boy, like she found out it was a boy. So she was able to like grieve the whole not having a girl beforehand so that she was like ecstatic when the boy actually came out. And I think it's important to make those decisions again, like based on like, you know yourself best, you know your family best, and you have to make a decision based on that. And I really appreciate when someone shares that vulnerably, when they made a decision, like an intentional decision like that versus just like, you know, all over the place.
Yeah, I was sitting next to Annabel when we were having this conversation, and I thought that was so interesting. And I was like, okay, like I'm happy for her that she made that decision. And I have some friends with the opposite thought, that they don't find out because they figure once the baby comes, it won't really matter, which is true. It's like,
that's true.
Once the baby comes, the gender feelings doesn't matter. You're not going to be like, you know, return like 30 days, but you're going to be over the moon. So I think that's why a lot of people don't find out. But I do think that this is, you know, an interesting approach. And we do put a lot of emphasis on gender. But I think at the end of the day, if I want another kid, it's really going to come from not me going after gender, but really wanting a third kid. Me wanting to bring another life into this world, me feeling like there is this incomplete feeling that I want to go, you know, have that experience with a new baby and bring that addition to our family. So I think that would really come from a place of like, wow, I could really see us doing this again. But then it's like, oh, it'd be kind of nice to just like move on, like we said, like give away the baby stuff, not worry about my body anymore, like just kind of do me. But I don't think I'm ready to take that decision, make that decision.
Yeah,
yet.
The body image thing is like a really big one. And from the moms I've spoken to about a third kid, it really factors into that decision. It's just like, I can't do this again to my body. And another thing I feel like people always say was like, oh, I'm like older now, I can't have another one. It's like, I know some of my closest friends right now have been having babies 38, 39, 40 and like are amazing.
I know people over 40.
Yeah. And so I think like, you know, I think we went through a phase where no, you have to, are you considered geriatric after 35?
35, which is like,
so
can
crazy.
Can they rebrand that, by the way? Like maybe like, I don't know, premier pregnancy or like upgraded, like why geriatric? That's just like, awful.
Yeah. It just sounds like that whole thing.
35 is a teen pregnancy to me. Like, don't you think?
35 is very young. So I don't understand that whole concept.
I feel like a teen mom. I'm 35. So I just don't understand why they're calling geriatric pregnancy, like why they say that when it's literally a teen pregnancy.
Yeah. And don't you have to go to like a high risk doctor, or are you considered high risk?
So after 35, I thought 40 or 38. I don't know. But I just think that's ridiculous because I'll tell you something, for any moms out there who are like in their 30s having kids or older, I felt very young and I know Annabelle did too. Like when we did our like mommy and me groups, I was the youngest one. And in LA, it's very normal to have babies later in life.
But we were how old when we had our first baby?
Was I 32?
I was 32. Were you? Because you're a year older.
32. Yeah, but I guess I was about to.
You were about to turn 33?
Yeah, because I had Leo in February.
Okay.
So I was 32. So that to me felt like I was nervous to tell my parents I was pregnant because I was so young. No, actually. But I just want to let you know that it was, I know there's a lot of people having kids in their 20s and younger, but I think that there's this fear. And I'm telling you, like, you are not behind. Obviously, do what you got to do. I know there's like a technical biological clock, but just from the women that I'm around all the time, they're older and also their husbands are way older. My husband is like, why am I always the youngest other than Aaron, Annabelle's husband? Why am I the youngest by like 12 years?
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I think it's just interesting that we, you know, on social media, it might look one way, but in reality, at least the circles that we're around in LA,
I think a lot of our
older.
friends have married people who are about like 10 years older.
Yeah.
And I think so it's rare that both my husband and I and Dale's husband and her are both same age, which is, I think, rare for our friend group. Not rare in general, but just in our friend group, a lot of it is older. So then there's like the pressure of like, okay, like we have to have a kid now or have them back to back because my husband is like 40 something or whatever.
Yeah. And like, listen, guys don't have a
biological
clock like women do. I know it's easier said than done about stressing about your journey, just the way that we're stressing about, you know, are we done? Are we not done having kids? Like we all stress about family planning. Like,
yeah,
not all of us, but I think a lot of us do.
No, we were in Florida last weekend for my husband's grandmother's 95th birthday. And I'm never going to do this again, but take both kids on a 4-day East Coast adventure while they're not sleeping, while they're in a regression. And it was just so rough while we were there. And it was like 110 degrees in Florida, so we could barely go outside. And it was just rough. And I remember looking at my husband and like, it was like 3 a.m, like just been awake since, you know, the beginning. I was like, you still want to have a third kid? And he was like, yeah, it's beautiful. And I was like, okay. Like, it is so beautiful. And I think that's what I always try to remember. Like, even though this chaos is so hard, it's so beautiful. And it's also just like so expansive. Like, I'm learning so much about myself through the hardships of it. Yeah. So like, while I get so frustrated and my buttons are pushed, it's like, what is that saying about me? Like, what was that trigger? Like, and it brings something up in like my childhood or something I've dealt with, right? And so I think through raising these beautiful kids, while it's hard, I'm learning so much about myself, which then makes me be better as a human, as an entrepreneur, as a friend, as a wife, like as a mom. And per our episode about, you know, becoming a better version of ourselves and motherhood is actually a glow up. I think when I think about sometimes the capacity to have a third, I'm like, wow, like, I think I can do it. I think I want to evolve even more. I want to raise another beautiful soul to this amazing world. And I think you just have to have this like perspective that even through the chaos, it's actually quite beautiful when you like zoom out, even with the no sleep and all of that.
I love that perspective and watching you especially step into this because you are very like type A, and seeing you transition, especially into having 2 kids, like it's really like softened your edges. It's made you flexible. It's brought out this new version of yourself that I think you're probably like, your inner voice needed to be challenged, that like you can go through with things even when they're not perfect. And I think that's one thing that also motherhood really, really taught me. I remember my frustration, like the amount to which I would be frustrated pre-kids was set off so much easier. And now it's like these things just don't have, like my fuse is a lot longer.
By 9 a.m., I've already had all the frustrations I would normally have in a full day.
Totally. And so let's talk about the crib situation quickly because you were in Florida. You know, you're deep in all of this.
Yeah. So the last month, since the 21st of July, to be precise, I don't know what date it is, but it's almost been a month. Gemma has been waking up in the middle of the night and giving us a hard time for bedtime. And at first I'm like, okay, it's just a phase. It's like a week, 2 weeks. It keeps going. So we then go to Florida while all this is happening. And it's just, again, disaster. I thought that they could share a room. Silly me, because that did not work out. One of them woke up the other one and it was just like a constant waking up. So then my husband slept with one of the kids and I slept with the other. So they did not end up by sharing a room. So I'm curious how it goes for you. I'm sure your kids will be great because they're sleeping well. So then we got back, and then 2 days later, Gemma learned how to get out of her crib. So I shared this on Instagram, but if you didn't see, we were sleeping. It was about 10 p.m. and all of a sudden our lights go on in our room and we're like, okay, is there someone in our house? Like confused, but also delirious because we were just sleeping. We look over and Gemma goes, "Good morning, mama. Good morning, dada." And it's like 10 p.m. We sleep early. So we're just kind of like shocked. Anyway, I put her back into her bed and said, like, please don't get out of your bed until we come get you. And then the same thing happened in the morning, the next morning. I was sitting feeding Griffin his chair and she like walked downstairs. She goes, "Breakfast time, mama." It's like crazy. And then I polled a lot of people. So people told me to get like tents. People told me to get like all sorts of things, contraptions to keep her there. But ultimately, I know, Gemma, and you could probably attest to this, if I put a tent on her crib, she would like be like, "Challenge accepted, mama."
This girl is going to win the Olympics of rock climbing. I've never seen such upper body strength. I'm like, if you don't put her in like gymnastics or something, like she like scales her crib. We had a More Than Mom event at Annabelle's house.
Oh yeah.
We're like, where's Gemma? Where's Gemma? We all were like cleaning up, couldn't find Gemma. I don't know who thought to open the pantry, but she was like on the top shelf and we were like all stunned, but like scared and laughing, like a mix of emotions. And Annabelle was just like, "Gemma, can you show me how you got up there?" And she like piled up the boxes and like climbed onto the water bottles. And like, it was like a whole thing. I'm like, we were just so
like
we were
impressed, shocked, I don't know what, but then like, also scared. And I was like, "Why did you do that, Gemma?" She goes, "Gemma wanted snacks." And she's like, "Okay, sweetie, but next time could you just let me know and I could go?" So listen, I'm trying to foster her independence while also putting the boundaries in of like, you can't do that, you could hurt yourself. So it's been a balance now. I mean, I got that alarm clock and I think it actually works. So like last 4 days I've been using it of like, it's green when she's allowed to get out of the crib and it's red when she cannot. So from 7 to 7, it's red. And the first 2 days of the alarm clock, she didn't listen to it, but now she goes like, "Red, Gemma stays in crib." Like she gets it now. And then when it's green, when I come in to take her out of bed in the morning, I actually still let her climb out of the crib because I'm like, it's her independence. She wants control. So she sees it now green. I'm in her room and I'm like, "Okay, Gemma, you can come out." So she still gets to climb her crib just in when I'm there.
I mean, I think that's great. I think it's like a game almost. Like make it a game versus something where you're like trapping her. I think maybe that's the approach.
No, I think I've really learned that if I tell her what to do, it's going to backfire. So even like when we go into the bed, it's like, she loves that song, Hop Little Bunnies. So I'm like, okay, why don't we turn on the music, Hop Little Bunnies, and we're going to hop to the bed. And like, I make it fun for her. Or I'm like, do you want a piggyback ride? Or do you want to do Hop Little Bunnies to the crib? Right. So it's like giving her autonomy over the choice versus being like, okay, you're sitting in the bed. I'm going to close the door now and bye. She's going to get out. She's going to be upset by that. Yeah. So I'm trying to lean into just giving her control over her decisions in moderation, in my boundaries.
I think that's great. And I think as parents, we're always getting creative on how we can make these things. We can try to, I wouldn't say like control them, but get what we want by masking it as a game and entertainment. And that's the only way that sometimes it works. But yeah, I feel like you're on a path to like figuring out what works for you, which is
yeah. I also think I want to touch on is that like no sleep is so hard. I was in a major period of overwhelm the last like 3 weeks because I'm not sleeping, and I find I didn't realize how much of a toll it had on my body and my ability to function, on my patience, on my reactivity. I think the newborn phase, like I was fortunate enough to have a nurse. And so I did quote unquote sleep. And by the time she left, like I sleep trained him after and he was fine. So now this period of not sleeping for, 3 to 4 weeks and getting constantly interrupted during the night has been really challenging for me. And it's not also like them just waking up. It's like the phantom crying. It's like, I think I hear things. And when my husband's out of town, I get nervous and scared. And I have a really hard time sleeping lately. So I just really need to get back on track. But if anyone is listening to it and in it right now of the no sleep, like I totally understand you are not alone. And it is so hard to function when you're not sleeping.
Yeah. Well, sending all the sleep vibes your
Yep.
way and anyone else who's struggling with that because it is really, really tough.
So anyway, that's life. But we hope you guys enjoyed. And thanks for sending in topics.